No one.
All right. Zach, we got a lot to talk about. We both just sat here at the Swamp and watched Florida, number 13 Florida, lose to USF 18-16 on a last-second field goal by the young man from USF, the Grammatica kid. And Zach, this is one of the more, if you're a Gator fan, this is obviously one of the most frustrating things you've ever witnessed in your life. We're going to try to sit here and break down what we think happened. But Zach, before we dig too deep into it, what are just your general thoughts after watching this defeat?
Yeah, just a inexcusable loss for Florida. This is a game that they had no business losing. You give South Florida credit. They did everything that they needed to pull off this upset. But for Florida to have that first game where they committed no penalties and then to commit the penalties that they did today, the costly ones, to have the offensive woes that they did, not scoring in the red zone, obviously the second half getting shut out in the third quarter, just 51 yards in the fourth quarter, not being able to move the ball and going 3 and out after South Florida missed that long field goal and giving them one more shot to go down the field and hit the game winner. And just a terrible loss for the Gators, snaps a 5-game win streak and just deflates what they came into a season with, that they hope that they could be a playoff contender, and they're nowhere near that right now.
Zach and I have been at the stadium since about noon, so forgive me. I'm a little tired. I forgot to mention that I'm Keith Niebuhr, and that's Zach Alvaverde of Gators Online. And Zach, before the season, we spent everybody, me, you, fans, us talking with fans, message boards, magazines, television shows. Everyone talked at length about how difficult Florida's schedule was. All these ranked teams on the schedule. Nobody was mentioning USF. I mean, nobody. And they go out in week 1 and they beat then number 25 Boise State at home 34-7. And you're thinking, okay, well, that probably got Florida's attention because it got mine, it got yours, it got everybody that's watching now. And then this happened. And so what do we make of this right now? Is it still too early to tell what this Florida team is going to be? Or I don't know it's just such a confounding loss. It's kind of hard to put into words, but, is this who they are, or is this a team that we think can still get better and can still win big games and, make people sort of forget about this if they can?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think this is obviously right now who they are. I think that first game was smoke and mirrors there with the Long Island opponent. This obviously shows kind of where they are right now as a team. I will say, I think offensively, obviously they can get better, play calling wise, game plan wise, and then DJ, although he maybe had some good numbers, did have the interception, but he's still not himself, and he's still playing like a guy who was only practicing for 2 weeks in the offseason before this year started. And I think that because of that, he still has the capacity to get better. But the problem is how much better can he get before this gauntlet of games that the Gators have coming up?
How do you put into words? Okay, Zach, I'm just going to ask you, how did USF do this? What were 2 or 3 I can't even talk. 2 or 3 things that you would say, all right, they did this, this, and this, and that's why they walked out here with the W?
Well, first of all, you got to give them credit. They took away the deep ball from Lagway, and although Jaden Ball had a lot of success with the carries that he did receive, he probably should have received more. At the same time, there were a lot of plays where USF was blowing up Florida on the line of scrimmage, and this once again looked like a unit that did not perform as elite as we thought it was going to be this season. So that's number one. Certainly, you got to give USF credit offensively. Byron Brown, he outdueled DJ Lagway tonight with the plays that he made in the passing game, the plays that he made with his legs. I give Florida's defense some credit because they forced some field goals in the first half. They forced some punts. Including one after DJ Lagway's interception, and then when they give up the long touchdown, they came back with back-to-back 3 and outs, and then they forced a field goal miss attempt before that last drive. And I just think by the end of the game, Florida's inability after that long attempt, they only ran 27 seconds off the clock. USF got the ball back with still over 2 minutes left, and they go 87 yards in 8 plays. And at that point, the defense, kind of lost it there at the end.
That was one of those clock mismanagement deals that kind of makes you harken back to that Ron Zook Florida Tennessee game right here that Florida lost all those years ago.
I got to add one more thing, Keith.
Yeah,
that last drive too, we would be remiss at this point. We're 5 minutes in. The spitting penalty by Brennan Bett. There was a ton of egregious penalties by Florida tonight, including 2 on the same series that got touchdowns called back. Napier said after the game that he thought the one on Hayden Hansen for offensive pass interfering was debatable, but nonetheless, the one by Brennan Bett, that was a turning point in the game late there, and it was back-to-back penalties by the Gators. Remember, they had Dijon Johnson called for pass interference. Over 100 yards in penalties tonight, 11 total after, again, none last week, and they had all 5 offensive line positions got called for a penalty tonight. And you usually don't see that.
They say that you don't count the plays you make the plays that count. And USF, quite frankly, made more of the plays on the money downs, right? I don't have the stats. I'm trying to find them here, but USF, trust me, I wrote this. USF was better on third down, okay? USF offense was better on third down than Florida's. USF also was 1 of 1 on fourth down. They kept more plays, more drives alive than Florida did. In the red zone, both teams were equally average, ending up settling with field goals.
That's right.
But again, USF, they made more plays. They had more yards in the game. Now, Zach, if I would have said going into this game, I think USF's going to have more yards than Florida, you would have said, Keith, you're crazy, because USF is, everybody will admit this, fairly one-dimensional. I mean, Byron Brown, everything goes through him, the quarterback, and he passed for over 250 yards. He rushed for over 50 yards. He did it all. But they're not like this real dynamic offense. A lot of the plays were just kind of keepers with him, and he'd run and get tough yards. And he's a fantastic player. But for them to have more yards than Florida, I think is incredibly concerning. And I think Florida, most people would have thought, would have a distinct advantage, as you said, on the line of scrimmage, Zach. And I know the Florida defense at times did pretty well, but in the game they had 3 tackles for loss and 1 sack. That's it. So I think USF, by and large, won the line of scrimmage battle by not losing it, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Because I think people thought they were just going to get roughed up front, and they did not at all. And in fact, Zach, you alluded to that last drive by USF. They were at the end. They were pushing the pile when it was still in that range.
I thought they were going to score.
Yeah, well, it was when it was still in that range out there, where maybe if Florida gets a stop or a tackle for loss, maybe a 42-yard field goal is a heck of a lot harder than a 20-yard field goal. And they just ran right up the gut, and the pile was pushing, and Brown was pushing the pile, and Florida couldn't do a dang thing about it, Zach. So it just the money downs were not there. The big plays were not there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Florida not force a turnover? Right?
They did not. No,
they did not force a turnover.
They had an opportunity. Devin Moore dropped that pick.
Yeah, everything you could do to lose a game, they essentially did. It was a miracle they were even in it at the end. But credit to USF. But this is all credit to USF. But this is a game where you look back at your Florida and you say, well, what happened? And I don't know. I don't even know, Zach, that they gave the game away. They just weren't very
capitalized. Yeah, but
they weren't very good.
Yeah,
Florida wasn't very good.
They had their moments to win this game, and they simply did it. I mean, when USF misses that long field goal and there's 2:50 left, go run the clock out, win the game. I mean, point blank, period. For Florida to have over 200 yards in the first half and then just lose it in the second half was disappointing. Another thing that we haven't mentioned but is worth talking about is special teams. That was a big thing in this game in terms of a storyline to follow, certainly with Trey Smack. He bounced back tonight. That was one of the bright spots. He made all 3 of his kicks, and they were crucial kicks because they were keeping Florida in front for most of that game. And then he hits the go-ahead extra point there in the fourth quarter, and you think Florida might win this thing 16-15. And then, of course, that touchdown, which was one of the only times Florida set itself up in the second half offensively, that was set up by Vernell Brown III. Just an incredible 40-yard return. They needed that. It obviously set them up to go back ahead. And, so there were some things that you liked on special teams, but, man, the one mistake that they had ended up being so costly which was obviously the safety at the end of the third quarter that goes over Doman's head and out of the end zone and ends up being the difference in an 18-16 loss.
And that's your All-American snapper, right?
That's right. That's right.
He never does that. So Florida only had 355 yards of offense in this game. And you have, obviously missing Dallas Wilson, and DJ Lagway missed all that time during the offseason. We'll get into that in a little bit. But 355 yards for an offense, Zach, that everybody thought, two first-team preseason All-SEC linemen. Now you got 16 teams, and only 5 guys make that first team. Florida had 2 of them. You got a quarterback that with a ton of hype. You got all these receivers. You got the UCLA transfer. You got Jaden Ball. And so you're thinking Florida's going to have one of the most explosive and balanced offenses in the country, both. And USF had this plan tonight. So, hey, we're going to keep everything in front of us, which, by the way, other teams are going to try to do the same thing, wouldn't you? Keep everything in front of us, take away the deep ball threat that DJ Lagway has been so efficient with. And, Zach, it really worked to perfection. You just mentioned this. Florida's only touchdown tonight was a 20-yard drive.
Yeah, that's 20
right. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's not good. This is makes you look back to a few years ago.
That was also aided by a face mask, too.
Yeah, that's right. At the end, yeah. So they just didn't get it done. They never, Jaden Ball had some really good runs that first series, but they never really seemed in sync offensively after about the 4th or 5th play, to be honest with you. It just never felt like they were going to get going. There were big plays. Vernell had a good catch. Trey Wilson had a great catch. Hayden Hansen had a couple good plays, one downfield. The touchdown pass to Eugene Wilson was really good, but there just wasn't a flow offensively. The good plays were in between those good plays were awful plays. You know what I mean? And it's kind of mind bending, to be honest with you, Zach. I mean, right now we've got to wonder, DJ Lagway's shown rust in these first 2 games. I don't buy that he's been horrible. That's a little ridiculous to me, but there's definitely rust, and he missed a lot of time. They go to Baton Rouge next week, Zach. It's not going to get any easier here. What's the solution here? I mean, this is now very problematic that the offense isn't humming.
Yeah, it is. And, the thing that DJ did so well last year was throw the deep ball. And it seems like that's just not there right now. He said after the game tonight that defenses are taking that away. But it also seems like, just whether it's his shoulder, whether it's his rhythm, whether it's just he just doesn't seem to have it at this point. That's not to say that he's incapable. But yeah, I mean, this is you'd like to think that he can get better with each week of practice and each game. The issue for him is that these games are going to get harder. These opponents are going to get harder. And if he's not, if he doesn't have a good feel for the game, he's not in, a rhythm as a passer, and he's not able to really, operate the offense at a full clip. It's just not going to be. It's just not going to be what I think. Certainly, what it was last year. So I don't know, Keith. I mean, look. You asked me when we previewed the show, what was I worried about in this game? And I said DJ Lagway's play in the offensive line. I said that. And I noticed that there were some people that saw our video that thought that we were being a little bit too negative about the team coming off of a 55-0 win, which I get, nitpicking some, weaknesses on the roster is after a shutout win might seem like we're harping on things, but we saw some issues. Clearly there were issues there because you don't get a result like this tonight if that wasn't the case.
Zach, they've got some mature guys on this team. They've got some older guys on this team. DJ Lagway is not one of the older guys, but he said after the game, hey, look, Florida's been in this situation. We were in it last year. We've been in it before. Of course, if you're a Gator fan, you don't want to be in these situations every season. You prefer to win these games, of course, but where do they go from here? Do you think they've got the mental maturity to turn this around? And then the second part of that question, which we don't know yet, everybody's going to point to, the offense and the play calling and the coaches. I mean, look, these losses are shared. Obviously, I'm talking in circles here, but the truth is we still don't know whether they have the dudes. I don't know that they have the dudes. I'm not saying they do. I'm not saying they don't. I don't know. I need to see a lot more. But
Obviously.
yeah, exactly. What can they do to turn this thing around, Zach? I mean, they're going to Baton Rouge next week. Is it good? Do you think that maybe they're going to have an away game to get away from all this stuff for 1 week?
Potentially.
Or,
Potentially. I mean, that's not – you could have picked a better place to go for an away trip.
Yeah, you'd rather it be at Vanderbilt, obviously, which actually they're pretty good now.
We thought that was the worst loss of the Napier era, losing
Yeah.
at Vandy. I think this one takes the cake. Other than Lagway progressing, getting better, the offense getting into a rhythm, I think operating more efficiently, more productive, that certainly can turn things around. I still think, although they got about half of their guys back that were out week one, Keith, there's still some guys out, most notably Caleb Banks. And if you add him back, it seems like there was a chance that he could have played on today, and he didn't. I mean, if you add him back, I mean, that's a first-round pick potentially that you're, inserting into your defensive line. Now, again, I don't think that the defense was the issue tonight. Florida's defense played well enough to win this game. You give up 16 points because 2 of it was a safety. That should be enough to win. So I still think that the defense can carry this team potentially while the offense is trying to sort itself out, but obviously wasn't able to do it tonight. They came close though.
Yeah. All right, I think that will do it. There's just not much more to say, to be honest with you. Well, no, let's just be honest. I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there watching that's a Florida fan, that's not just flat out flabbergasted, infuriated, and we feel that. You feel it, I feel it. We grew up here. We know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And this was again, the season's far from over, obviously, and there's a way to make people sort of, put this in the rearview mirror, but they've got to go out and win some games. There's no more talk now. There's no more hype. Yeah. There's no more. They got to go do it now.
And it's unfortunate, Keith, because you thought that this could be a year where Florida would get off to a good start and have some momentum and not be in a hole early on, which is what they were last year and what they faced, obviously, in 2023 as well. And there was the thought that they would win these first 2 weeks and potentially be talented enough to split this 4-game gauntlet that they have coming up. And now that, like you said, they just need to get a win and go from there.
They need to get a win and go from there. There's been embarrassing moments in Gator history. You and I have sat through many of them. I was here as a little kid, Zach, when they tied Rutgers, okay? And I've seen some bad ones before, and this is up there. But there's
I will say to if there's any ounce of hope out there, what am I trying to say here? Just some positivity potentially. We don't know yet what USF could be coming off of these 2 back-to-back wins to open up the 2025 season. They just beat a team that was in the playoff a year ago, and they just beat a team that a lot of people were projecting to be a playoff team this year. Yeah. So you got to give credit to the Bulls, and if they end up winning their conference or having a good season, that might change the outlook of this result a little bit. But that's not gonna happen if you don't go out now and win some games and show that, hey, maybe this was an aberration. But right now,
sorry, Zach. I would say a little bit, sure. But then the flip side of that is,
what happens if they don't?
That too. But if you're a Florida fan, you're thinking that's great. If they go out and if USF goes out 12-0 and makes the playoff, it's this guy's 3rd year as coach at USF. Like there's no, it's so. I mean,
there's no bright side.
There's really not. I mean, you found the one that would be the brightest, but that's still not very bright.
Yeah, I don't think Florida fans will. I don't know how much better that's going to make them feel.
They got to go out. Well, Zach, I mean, now there's going to be all this noise, as Ron Zook used to say, of course. There's all this noise in the system. There's going to be distractions. There's going to be people ripping them, and they're going to have to deal with that. But guess what? They're professional athletes now, and they've got to handle it like pros. And in the NFL, sometimes you lose to the 49ers 1 week, and the next week you beat the best team in the league by 2 touchdowns. And so you just never really know. Each game is its own individual identity. And I'm not trying to spin it. I'm just saying we don't know how this is going to turn out. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year and ended up making the championship game. Now, obviously, Florida's got a much more daunting schedule, but if you're a Gator fan, you're always looking. Like I grew up going to these games, 1970s and 80s. You want to believe. You got the hope. You're trying to believe, but boy, it's hard to believe right now, Zach. It's hard to believe for a lot of them. All of our friends are texting us and what's going on, what happened.
Yeah, my
but
phone
anyways,
going
it's
off the hook,
it's
man.
a tough one. But hopefully next Saturday night, Zach, we'll be talking. You'll be in Tiger Stadium, and maybe we'll be talking about a big win over a highly ranked LSU team.
Yeah, and I feel for all the Florida fans out there that have been excited about this season, looking forward to it. I think that we said, Keith, in a lot of our reporting that throughout the offseason, defense looked good.
Yeah.
Got a lot of pieces around the quarterback position on offense. But we had said over and over in a lot of our intel reports that we don't have a true sense of what this team is because DJ's not out there. We wrote it after every single scrimmage intel because, the defense is playing good, but they're not playing against DJ Lagway. And, maybe the offense might be struggling and the defense might be winning these scrimmages, but the offense doesn't have DJ Lagway. So there was this unknown about this team that we're starting to get some answers to.
Yeah. All right. To my Gator friends out there, keep the faith. Maybe good news is right around the corner. I'm Keith Niebuhr. That is Zach Alberverdi. This is the Gators Online show, the rapid reaction show after Florida's 18-16, rather shocking loss to USF on Saturday in the Swamp. Take care, everybody. If you're heading home, be safe out there. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for stopping by.